Welcome back to my official podcast. This is Gaurav, and obviously you guys have known this. And I think England team has just announced for the Ashes, and obviously we will discuss about the Ashes with none other than James Butler, who's all the way from the England, and Australian team hasn't announced. So Lucas will be obviously there once the Australian team will be announced. So I think with the Today Show there will be a proper slate. We'll begin right from here. So let's welcome our guest first, James Butler. Welcome back to the show.
Good to be with you, Gaurav.
Lucas, are you ready?
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks for having me here. It's
So
been a while.
just
Actually,
for
so
the
it's been a
viewers,
while since I've been on here.
yes, it has been a
Too
long
much,
time
too
because
much,
obviously
too,
I
too
know
much of this
you
IPL
love
stuff.
yes, I know you're love with the IPL that you are not going coming with the show.
No. So I'm glad that England announced their team, so I get something to talk about. So I
Yes,
haven't
that's
actually been
great.
on this yet on here in a month. So it
Just
is what it
wait,
is.
Lucas. Just wait. Let me announce the team first. Okay. For the viewers, that what is the team for the England team? Joe Root will be definitely the captains. Hasib Hamid, Rory Burns, Jack Crawley is back. Okay. Josh Butler, Ollie Pop, David Malan, Johnny Besto, Dan Lawrence, Ollie Robinson, Chris Vokes, Craig Overton, Dominic Bess, Jamie Anderson, Stuart Broad, Mark Wood, Jack Leach. This is the team. So first thing first with the James Butler. James Butler, what's your point of view about this England team? Expected, shocking, or you were or it was on the cards?
No surprises, really, are there, Gaurav? I mean, there's nobody in that side, I don't think, that's not played at least a handful of test matches. You've got, I mean, one of the nice things I think sometimes about seeing a test squad announced is when you get a couple of players from left field maybe that are called in who haven't played before. Having said that,
Yeah.
England have had a lot of debutants in the last few years, so I guess you've got to kind of start to trust a few of those as well. But no surprises. Obviously, Jofra Archer still injured,
Yeah.
and
Ben Stokes also is not there.
Ben Stokes not going, and Sam Curran not available either. I don't think I'd have taken Sam Curran myself anyway, but
Yes.
Ben Stokes and Jofra Archer are two big misses in terms of an Ashes series away. And Ben Stokes missed the last one as well, and we know what he can do against Australia.
Yes.
So they're big misses. So there's no real surprises. I think I'd like to have seen Matt Parkinson or a different kind of spinner in there. But I don't think of the players available, there's too many shocks in that squad.
Yeah, but how you have talked about Mark Parkinson, who's the spinner. But how many spinners you want in the Australian soil? Obviously, there is a Dominic Bess. I know he keeps giving too many full tosses, but Jack Leach is obviously there. So you have already two spinner. I think Jack Leach will play most of the Test matches, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's a decent argument. And Matt Parkinson, I think if they were going to play him, he was in the squads in Sri Lanka, he was in the squads in India, and he's also been in a few squads certainly available for selection this summer, and they've not picked him for Test matches. So there's obviously something Chris Silverwood doesn't quite see in Matt Parkinson as being a Test player. Having said that, his record for Lancashire in first-class cricket this summer has been very good indeed. So I think sometimes you need a little bit of a point of difference when you go to Australia. You need somebody that can be a little bit, somebody that you can throw the ball to be a little bit different. I can't see too much difference in the seam attack. Mark Wood, there's a lot of Mark Wood there because Mark Wood can bowl fast. And England often make a big deal about taking fast bowlers to Australia.
Yes.
There is the counter argument that you just take your best players and see what those best players can do for you. But Mark Wood, I think, is going to be crucial. Whether he can play all the Test matches is a complete. We know he's got a body made of a straw kind of thing at times. But there's some good players in there. You can pick a very good 11 out of that, and I would imagine that Lucas is cracking in his boots.
Yes, but you still can't. Just wait, guys. You will get all the chances for Sledge. The Ashes hasn't. I think the Ashes has begun right now, isn't it? So you will get this time. But tell me, James. I think that the biggest I think the missing thing is this, that Josh Butler. Sorry, I'm talking about Josh Butler. Ben Stokes is not there, so the combination of the playing 11. I think I think once I see this team, there is no all-rounder, out and out all-rounder in the team is there, isn't it?
No, and just looking, I mean, Johnny Bairstow's obviously in there as well, so there's two keepers. But yeah, we saw this summer how big a miss Ben Stokes can be in Test cricket. You know, having him coming in at number 5, able to bowl the overs as well, good fielder, and obviously, you know, a big figure in that dressing room. Yeah, the Australians see Ben Stokes walk out and they remember Headingley and another performance he's done against them. So yeah, that's a huge miss, not having Ben Stokes on that plane. Obviously, he's not fit. You know, he's not well enough to go. So that's the end of that conversation, isn't it? You know, you can kind of look back and think about what you might be missing, but you got to look forward and see what you've got.
Yes, and obviously you have discussed with the Markwood that you can't he can't guarantee you that he will play all the test matches, isn't it? And he's the only one who can, I guarantee, is the out and out fast bowler for the Australian soil, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, there's a few bowlers in there that can crank it up every now and again, but there's nobody that can bowl consistently quick. Mark Wood can bowl consistently fast. So that's, you know, keeping him on the park and maybe playing him strategically in the big games where you know his pace might be a weapon. That might be the way to play it. But you know, Lucas can grin there. Lucas can grin, but you've got Jimmy Anderson, you've got Stuart Broad, who have taken well over 1,000 Test wickets between them. You've got some good youngsters in that side. If they come of age, who knows?
I don't mean to be disrespectful, but this team's a joke. Oh, please. You know, what about Ollie Stone? What about Ollie Stone? Ollie Stone, fit. You know,
he's not fit either.
He won't be fit for the Ashes.
No.
I thought he played a couple of games in the 100.
No, he's not fit. So Ollie Stone's not available either. So, yeah, I mean, if you think about England's genuine pace attack, who can bowl rapid, you've got Joffrey, you've got Ollie Stone, who are both unfit. You've got Teemal Mills, who can't get through more than the T20 match because of his injury history. So they've picked the bowlers that they've got available.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll go into what England could pick a little bit later, but I couldn't believe it when I heard players like Zach Crawley.
I must admit, Zach Crawley doesn't fill me with huge amounts of enthusiasm. I mean, we saw Zach Crawley toil for a year without getting a run and get dropped by England. He's obviously got some talent, but I'd prefer to see him go back to Kent and have a year in the county season, get some form back, get some confidence back. We know what an Ashes series is like. You're under the microscope. You're exposed to every single mistake you make. If Zach Crawley is picked and he has a couple of bad Test matches, that could knock him back, you know, in his career and as a human being, that could knock him back a long time. So I don't think Zach Crawley should be on that plane. Of the players that are on that list, I think there is only really Zach Crawley that I would have too much of an issue with.
Don Bess?
I really like Don Bess.
Really?
Yeah. I think Don Bess is a bowler who was unfairly targeted during that Indian series. He didn't bowl particularly well. He's capable of bowling better than that. But he's a player that I've seen at close quarters and spoken to. He's got a lot about him upstairs. He's got a lot. He's got a lot of character, and he's also got a capacity to learn quite quickly. And I think. I mean, he's only a youngster, and of the two spinners in that squad, Jack Leach would be the first spinner for me. But if you could go into a Test match with two spinners, I'd have no qualms with putting Don Bess in there.
Yeah, and you were discussing about the Jack Crawley. Don't you think he has been picked as a third opener in this team?
I mean, obviously the two people in situ are Rory Burns and Hassie.
Yes.
But then David Milan, who's been picked to be at 3. Joe Root will be 4. So they've kind of the rest of the side. You've got Ollie Pope, Dan Lawrence kind of fighting it out for a middle order place with Josh Butler going in there in the middle order too. So the rest of the side kind of picks itself. But you're probably right. I mean, I would be surprised if Zach Crawley makes the first 11. I'd be quite disappointed, to be honest, if Zach Crawley made the first 11.
James, you do know this is the squad that lost to India and England, right? You do know that. This is exactly the same squad. So what hope and hell do you give them to even win a Test match in Australia when they couldn't beat India?
Because Australia aren't a very good side at the minute.
Yeah,
you can't look me in the eyes, Lucas, whether I've got my new glasses on or not. You cannot look me in the eyes and say
they do look good, by the way, James.
You cannot look me in the eyes and say you can't flatter me now. You can't look me in the eyes and say that this Australian side is a vintage Australian team.
It doesn't need to be vintage with the team that you're sending. Trust me, it doesn't need to be vintage at all. We just Pat Cummins, Steve Smith. That's all we need. We could pick a B team and we'd still win 5-0. I could. Yeah, that's right, James. That's what I said. I didn't stutter. That's what I said. If all we need, Steve Smith, Patrick Cummins, we can use a B team. We'll still win 5-0. You have all these.
You got Smith and Labuschagne who can bat. You got a good bowling attack.
Yeah. Yes. So, but
you got a captain. You got a captain that's talking out his backside at the minute.
I don't care about Tim Payne. You can take Tim Payne and land him in the bloody London, put him over the London Bridge for all I care. It just gets me frustrated because you've just finished up your county season. We're just starting our Sheffield Shield season, and there's teams in there that have scored. Players in that county have scored a bucket loads of runs. I think Jack Libby scored over 1,000 runs in run season. Who was the other one? Is it Matt Critchie? Also scored 1,000 runs. You have Kieran Carlson that scored over 900 runs. Why aren't these guys playing? These were the guys that I were actually looking for, and also Luke Fletcher, leading wicket taker. These are the guys that I was actually looking for in this team.
A number of players you mentioned there, a couple that spring out. One that you didn't mention, Rob Yates of Warwickshire, who scored a load of runs. Yes. I'd have taken him instead of Zach Crawley.
They won the final, didn't they? Didn't they just win the final?
Warwickshire have had a great season. Rob Yates has scored 1,200 runs or something like that.
Yeah.
He scored 5 centuries. Zach Crawley scored nothing. So Rob Yates, I think, can be sitting at home now. There's going to be, as I understand it, there's going to be a Lions trip as well. So I'd imagine that a lot of the guys that you just mentioned will be on that trip. That effectively works as a shadow squad in the end, doesn't it? So you can draw from those players. But in terms of that, I would have put Yates in that first team instead of Zach Crawley. I think Luke Fletcher, he's had a fantastic season. Whether they see him as the future of English cricket, I don't think that's probably the case. I love him to bits. I think he's a terrific bowler, but I'm not sure I'd have picked him. But there are a number of players who've had a very good county season who have been completely disregarded, haven't they? And I think you earn your selection off the back of scoring shed loads of runs and taking shed loads of wickets. And that
go on.
That hasn't been the case with this Test side. What they've done though, Lucas, with this Test side is they've shown faith with people that they've kind of shown faith with. Effectively, they've kind of said, "You are our guys. You're on the plane." There's an element of continuity in the way England select their teams at the moment.
Well, I was going to say another one that is Jack Hill, who's also a wicketkeeper. That's also scored a tremendous amount of runs, and they've gone with Josh Butler, who really hasn't scored any runs. Well,
if you're going from if you put in my ECB hat on, which I haven't got,
I'm sure you got it somewhere.
I can see why they've picked that squad.
Yep.
If you're giving me my selection and saying who would you have taken, Josh Butler is somebody I've been querying his place in the Test side for 3 years.
Obviously. Yes.
I don't know whether I would have taken, as I say, Zach Crawley, because I think he needs time to regroup from his experiences in Test cricket and work out his game and come back stronger. Other than that, I can see the reasons why they've taken a lot of the others. Chris Wokes has never worked overseas.
No.
So you're taking him because he's a solid guy, a lovely bloke, and you know that he can perform. But whether he's your man in Australia, I'm not so sure.
And I think he's the only all-rounder who is a very handy batsman, isn't it?
So I say again, Gaurav?
I think he is an all-rounder who is a very handy batsman. He's the only one who's a very handy batsman.
Yeah, and I don't know whether he's bowling. I mean, you look at his bowling stats overseas compared to in England, and they are it is a different player.
I know that.
And so that would be my concern with him. But other than that, I've met the 2 or 3 players that have had good county seasons, yeah. But as I said, they're probably going to find themselves on a line strip and be available further down the series if it all goes horribly wrong at the start.
Do we have a question, Gaurav, from a viewer?
Yes. Yeah. How can you say that set back to attacking a 39 and 35-year-old expected? Oh God, guys.
That's a fair question. That's a fair question.
Ask a serious question, guys.
That's a fair question. I mean, you got two veteran bowlers there who.
What was that? Yeah, that's the one I wanted you to bring up. Sorry about that, James.
I think he was talking about James Anderson, isn't it? James Anderson and Stuart Broad.
Yeah.
Isn't it? Yeah, go ahead. I'm taking the question again.
But yeah, I mean, you've got to respect what they've done. Yeah, to sort of, I mean, that question from Sam there, 39 and 35-year-old, and expect them to get the world's best Test batsman out. Well, they've been getting the world's Test batsman out for the last 15 years. So, you got to give them some respect there, Sam, and expect them to actually. Jimmy Anderson remains the best fast bowler in the world at the moment.
Yes.
He's not out and out speed, but he knows exactly what he's doing with that ball.
Better than Pat Cummins?
I would say in Australian conditions possibly not, but it's better than anybody else that England have got.
Yes, that's
well,
especially in this Test side.
Well, jokes aside, James Anderson was very potent with that pink ball in Adelaide 3 years ago. Yes. Took a 5-wicket haul. So that is one possible threat in that Test match. He could do damage in that Test match. And all laughing aside.
The one thing Jimmy Anderson is very good at as well is that he knows exactly what he's doing. He's got vast amounts of experience. He's been to Australia before, as has Stuart Broad. Even if it's not going for them and they're not taking shed loads of wickets, they do have the kind of nous to actually know what line and lengths to bowl to make it harder for the Australians.
Okay. Australian bowling attack is strong and English batting is weak. What's your take on that?
I think there's an element of truth in that. I mean, if you're going to criticise England's Test team over the last few years, it has been the bowlers bailing out the batsmen, and that's even been in English conditions. But I think if you look through, I mean, Joe Root's head and shoulders above anybody else in Test cricket this summer. He needs a big series. Hasib Hamid, I think, is a real talent. I think Rory Burns is more experienced now, and this is a test for him. He needs to step up. David Millan's been to Australia before, so he knows what's going to be expected, and he's a better player now than he was before. In Dan Lawrence and Ollie Pope, you've got 2 youngsters of serious promise. They haven't actually delivered that consistently on the Test arena just yet, but they're capable of doing that. Ollie Pope comes off a massive double century at the end of the English summer, even though it was on a road at the Oval. So yeah, there is batting there to hang your hat on.
Okay.
Hugh McLeod said should have picked a couple of rookies. This is basically the same English team that lost to India and New Zealand at home.
It's a fair point.
I wanted to speak. Yeah, go on.
Sorry, I wouldn't argue too much with that, Hugh, to be honest. I'd say what I would say is that it's probably, you are right, but it's the best that England can probably put out there.
Yes.
Is it the right time to blood a rookie on an Ashes tour? Or is it time to actually say to some players that have got maybe 10 Test caps, now's the time for you to step up and deliver on the experience that we've given you? What are you shaking your head for, Gaurav?
No, I'm completely agree with you. I have a next question to you. That don't you think England? This was the best team for England they could have announced. And another one I'm just forgetting his name. That who was opening with Rory Burns in the. I think he was the earlier opener with the once Hasib Hamid came to the Indian team. Sibley, yes, Dominic Sibley. Thank you.
I'm not particularly devastated that Dom Sibley's not on the plane.
Damn! I was actually gutted that he wasn't playing.
I like Sibley, but I think Sibley's in the same boat as Zach Crawley. They came in, they showed a little bit of what they'd got in the Test arena. then were proved to have fallen short. And they need to go away, play county cricket, get more experience with Red Bull, stick him on a Lions trip, do whatever, get them more experience, work with coaches. And then if they're needed in 12 months, 18 months' time by England, then they might be better players by then.
Yeah. And Lucas, go ahead.
Yeah, you mentioned Joe Root, and I actually do. The last 2-3 years, he's been the best batsman in the world. I can't disagree with that. But are you concerned that, even with Steve Smith, he had that brilliant Ashes series in 2019. Then he had a dip, had a very bad dip. I think he only made 250 since. Are you? I'm trying to find. I'll just say afraid. Are you afraid that could come to an end? He could have that dip on this tour, or are you confident that could continue?
Nobody can continue to score century after century after century. Yeah. Nobody does that, but there's no sign of that dip just yet.
Yeah.
He's basically worked very hard, Root, on his batting, and it's obviously the proof's in the pudding. You can guarantee that at the moment he's doing exactly the same thing. He won't be just sitting there watching Netflix. He'll be training and getting ready for this Ashes, which is a big Ashes for Joe Root, and his captaincy. And there's no indication that his hunger and his form has dipped at all at the moment. So obviously the proof's in the pudding. There's 5 Test matches in Australia. We'll see how he goes, but. I think he will be very, very hungry. He's obviously going to be the prize wicket for Australia. There's no doubt about that.
Of course, yeah.
Yes.
He probably needs a 600, 700 run series.
Yes.
He needs one of those Alistair Cook, Michael Vaughan kind of winters, doesn't he? Where everything goes right for him. Yeah.
Minimum 300s, yeah.
And it's one of those things, isn't it? If you've got a talisman like him, and he is in the batting department. If he edges to slip in the first Test match early, you need that catch to be dropped or whatever. And that can make you serious, can't it? Because you come back from that bit of luck and you carry on and you go loads of runs. If that catch is taken early on, then maybe it might not be as serious. But I think this is a huge series for Joe Root's captaincy. He's lost. He's come out of I think 2 Ashes series now without the urn. He needs to come out of this one. I mean, where England, whether it's right or wrong, England fans and English history prizes the Ashes above any other form of cricket. I'm sure Australia is the same. You make your legend as a player by what you do in an Ashes series, and as an English captain, same's true of that. So he needs to be able to lift that urn. Otherwise, you wonder how long he's going to have the captaincy for.
Well, what would a 5-0 loss or 4-1 loss do for his captaincy?
Let's
say if he loses 5-0 or 4-1, will he still be captain? Or will that damage his...
I would damage him. There's no doubt it would damage him. Whether it would terminally damage him in terms of the captaincy or not, I don't know. There's every chance it might do. There's no massive... candidate to replace him. That's the only thing.
Yes.
Yes. And the other thing with Rooty is that he's not stupid. He might actually think, I've had my time now. I'm going to just concentrate on my batting and I'll go back into the ranks now. He's been captain for a while. He still only looks 12 years old, but he's been captain for 4 years now, I think. And this is his opportunity to really sort of like nail down an Ashes win. If it is a horrible Test series for England, it's one of those kind of like Kevin Peterson 5-0 jobs, and everybody walks back home with their tails between their legs. Then it's going to be hard. Going to be hard for Joe Root to actually sustain the trust of the public and the selectors. And he might not want it. He might actually think, well, I've had my time now.
Yes. I want to have a question on this. Once Lucas has discussed that, suppose England going to lose in the Ashes at 4-1 or 5-0. This is what I've been seeing in the England once they toured to Australia. And what I actually see that they keep too many. They are trying to do too many changes in between the series. So if this is going to happen again, so how many players you are thinking that they would have played their last series in the Ashes? Which player, according to you, you will say that I think after they will lose to 4-1 or 5-0, that would be their last series.
Yeah, well, out of the squad that's been picked, if they were to be absolutely stuffed, and I mean, there's different kinds of 5-0s. There's 5-0s where you're absolutely annihilated every single session of every single test match, or there's 5-0s which are a little bit closer than that. And if there's a few hundreds in there and there's some kind of things to kind of just hang your hat on, that might not be quite as bad. But obviously Jimmy Anderson's getting towards the end. Stuart Broad's not a spring chicken. I don't think it'd be the end of anybody else, particularly in terms of never ever playing again and never being considered again. There's nobody else that's kind of like 30. I mean, David Milan maybe. If he has a horrible series, he's obviously only just come back in. I think he's worth persevering with. But he might be you sometimes get fall guys, don't you, that maybe don't quite deserve it. I mean, Michael Carbrey. I'm a big fan of Michael Carbrey, and I thought he didn't average huge amount in the Test series he played in Australia, but he batted a long time and frustrated Mitchell Johnson.
He was okay.
Yeah, he frustrated a Mitchell Johnson that was on fire in that series and never really got the credit. Never really got the credit for that. So sometimes you kind of fall because of the results, not because of how you do.
Is Josh Butler another one of those players that could be under threat?
Sorry, Josh Hazel for Australia?
No, Josh Butler. Josh Butler. Yeah.
Well, I mean, as I said, you know my view on Josh Butler.
Yeah.
He seems to have the negatives of the selectors or something. He's got something on somebody because, I mean, he's a bloody good player, Josh Butler. In white ball cricket, he'd be the first name on the team sheet.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that.
But in Test cricket, I don't know if he would be my man. I mean, Ben Folkes and a few others must be just kind of like scratching their head thinking, I'm never going to get my chance here. I've just been born in the wrong time when Josh Butler's got the shirt regardless of what happens.
And he's a fantastic keeper, Folkes. I've seen him in India. He's fantastic.
Yes. And guys, before I take this question, I have a question on the James Butler again. You were saying that James Butler hasn't been contributing a lot in the Test matches. I could totally agree, but I think Johnny Bairstow is also not been contributing a lot of runs in the Test matches for England.
Another one I forgot.
Yeah, I'd say if I was had to choose between the two of them, I'd go with Johnny Bairstow above Josh Butler. But maybe that's a bit of Yorkshire bias in me. I think Johnny will be disappointed with his last 12 months in Test cricket.
Yeah.
He's had some opportunities. In this summer, I thought at times he looked really good. He got nice 20s and 30s and never really kicked on from them. And I think there's a danger that after a series like that, you can look back and think, if only I'd just gone on and got 60, 70 or 100, then my series would look a lot better. If you get 20s and 30s, they look nice for a while, but people forget about them very quickly. If Johnny Bairstow or Butler get their opportunities in this series, then they've got to make those 20s and 30s into match affecting contributions, not necessarily winning contributions, but match affecting contributions.
Yes. Guys, my uncle has just arrived, and you obviously Lucas must be knowing this, that he's the biggest fan of Steve Smith. So here's a question for you, James Butler. Who can be the one English bowler to dismiss the dynamic second to only Don Bradman Smithy?
I think there's a few candidates. I mean, you can see the squad, but I don't know if is Steve Smith quite the player he was. I mean, we don't know in Test cricket because Australia have hardly played, and Australia certainly let a few countries down by not going overseas to play. Yes. But he's had a really poor IPL. But T20 is not his format.
Sorry to interrupt. I don't know why he's playing in that World Cup. To be honest, he should be playing Sheffield Shield. That's just my opinion. Sheffield Shield has just started. We're into round 2, and I've got absolutely no idea why he's playing that. And like I said to you before, James, before the Ashes, before his Meta Don Bradman series, he's only made 250 cents. He's made 0-hundreds. So, and Pakistan, he was awful. New Zealand, he was awful. India was okay, made a couple of 50s, but not by his standards. So he hasn't really done anything since that Ashes series.
There is a team that can play him back into form, and that is England, because England have got Steve Smith burnt on their retinas for watching him bat for basically years. And he's also got good memories of batting against England. So those things at the back of your mind sometimes kind of bear fruit in terms of what you see in the future. Because if you've got good memories against a certain side or at certain venues, it's amazing how often that kicks on into good performances. But I don't think Steve Smith is quite the player he was last time England faced him.
No,
Yes.
no, I'll agree. I'll agree with that. And I hope England do put him in form because we have an away series in India. So I hope they do.
I mean, those first 2 Test matches, Lucas, are going to be really important in terms of a few battles, in terms of Joe Root getting runs and getting into the series and feeling as if he's actually contributing. But the same with Steve Smith.
Yeah.
If England can get him cheaply in the first couple of Test matches, and then he's starting to hunt for runs and doubt himself, or if he gets a couple of big scores and then just remembers all of those good positive vibes I've just spoken about, then the writing's on the wall, isn't it? You know.
Yeah, this is why I said the first Test is very, very crucial, because you can make an argument for David Warner. His form has been horrendous, absolutely horrendous. And like Steve Smith, he hasn't played any Sheffield Shield. He's not going to play Sheffield Shield. He's in the World Cup. God knows why. Again, he'll be playing no Sheffield Shield, and he'll be coming off this T20 World Cup nonsense. So this is why I think England's best chance is the first Test, because Australia will be so underdone. Even their bowlers are not going to be playing Sheffield Shield.
Yeah.
The only batsman bowlers that are going to probably be playing Sheffield Shield is the Travis Heads, is the Usman Karajas, is Labuschagne will be playing Sheffield Shield, of course. He's made a really poor score. He made only 30. Travis Heads made 100. So Nathan Lyon's playing next week. So it's only those kind of players I just mentioned that will be playing Sheffield Shield. The rest of it is in the T20 squad. Even the Stark, Hazelwood, and Cummins are in the T20 squad.
And it makes a difference as well. I mean, we saw when India came across this summer to England. The English players have been playing the 100 and playing T20 Blast and not playing county championship. Whereas the Indians, although they haven't really been playing too much competitive cricket, they've been practicing against the red ball. They've been playing into squad games. They've had obviously that test against New Zealand. And India started that series looking like they'd been playing red ball cricket, whereas England didn't. And it makes a difference. I'm not quite sure what England's preparation is in Australia. I doubt very much they're playing state teams and stuff like that, but they'll have the chance to play intra-squad games and maybe some select teams or something like that.
No, I can say that they'll probably play Australian A squad. Yeah. Which they traditionally usually do. That'll probably be a pink ball test. Just probably get used to the pink ball. So I presume that they'll play Australia in a 2-day game or 3-day game, whatever you want to call it, to get practice in. Yeah, because COVID in Australia hasn't really much improved.
No.
So I think Adelaide and WA are the only states we've got the Sheffield Shield is now in Adelaide. That's how bad it is. Our 2 games have now been in Adelaide, and there's going to be one this week, Queensland and South Australia. That's going to be in Adelaide as well. So they've been set up in hubs over here in Adelaide because they can't play Sheffield Shield anywhere else. New South Wales can't even get out of their state. Same with Victoria. So there was talk about Victoria and New South Wales playing 3 Sheffield Shield matches in 3 weeks. So because of COVID, so it's really no better here. So we don't know what's going to happen, but I would presume that Cricket Australia will be kind enough to give England a tour match, just like they did with India with Australia.
Two things from that. First point is that it's just great the Ashes are going ahead.
Yeah.
Because this time last week it looked far less likely. The other point I was going to make is as well, looking at England's squad that's been selected for the test in the Ashes, they only 5 of them are playing in the T20 World Cup. So there are a big, 2/3 of that squad are going to be in red ball mode now.
Yeah.
Where Australia, it's opposite. It's only really Manus Labuschagne and Nathan Lyon that are playing Sheffield Shield. That's guaranteed starters. The rest are playing in the T20 World Cup.
Playing, isn't it?
And Tim Payne, And no, Tim Payne's not playing. Tim Payne won't play any Sheffield Shield because of his neck injury. So he'll go into they'll stop the presses. Tim Payne relying on Tim Payne's batting, stop the presses. If we got to rely on Tim Payne's batting, for the Ashes, then you might as well send the Ashes to England right now. You might as well say don't even bother.
He's got more runs in the Barmy Army, Lucas. That she's a
So let's hope that doesn't come to that. So he won't be playing any Sheffield Shield cricket either. So it's only really Nathan Lyon and Manus Labuschagne.
Did you see Barmy Army's comeback to his comment on
Yes.
scoring more runs than the Barmy Army? That Alistair Cook's actually an honorary member of the Barmy Army, and he's got 12,000 odd test runs, so he's a long way behind.
And Tim Payne's got zero test hundreds. Yeah. Trust me, Tim Payne's not as likely as you think he is, James. Trust me.
I find it strange because I saw a couple of comments. Oh, this little kind of Barmy Army Tim Payne stuff started to annoy me a little bit, actually, because it's all a little bit petty and a bit silly, but it's all part of the gig, I guess. But Australian captains of old, Steve Waugh, somebody like that, and Alan Border would not have even bitten on that. He would have just left it. Whereas Tim Payne's kind of joining into this kind of banter. It's a totally different kind of vibe for an Australian captain, really.
Well, it's Tim Payne's last series, so hopefully anyway. So Ravi Ashburn will be watching this series very closely because we all know what comment he made to Tim Payne during their comfortable exchange at the Gabba. So Tim Payne's a bit like that, likes to be a little bit chippy. So unfortunately, he can't back it up with his batting. So how people let him get away with it is completely beyond me. So if I'm the Barmy Army, I'm keep going at Tim Payne, put the pressure on him.
Well, if Tim Payne comes out with a 5-0 thrashing of England, like you suggest, and has the Ashes earned in his pocket, surely he books himself in for the next couple of years, isn't he, as an Australian captain?
God, I hope not.
Okay, guys.
Now that you mention that, I'd rather England are winning now, so we can finally get rid of it.
James, what will be your starting playing 11 for the England for the Ashes?
I mean, we've gone through the top order a little bit already with Rory Burns, Hasib Hamid opening the innings. You've got probably David Milan at 3. Joe Root will be at number 4. Then you've got a combination, probably 5 and 6 will be a combination of either Bairstow, Pope, or Lawrence.
I think Ollie Pope will start.
2 of those 3. Josh Butler will be in there. And then you're probably going to try and get Mark Wood in there to get some pace. I'll be disappointed if England go into this series without. I mean, they've gone through the entire summer without hardly playing a spinner, relying on a kind of return to Owen Ali. A return to Owen Ali, who obviously didn't want to be there really, and Joe Root's overs. I don't think you want to be doing that in Australia. If you're going to go in with any kind of spin, you want it to be a front liner. So Jack Leach, I'd like to see him start the series. I think you'd probably only see one of Jimmy Anderson and Stuart Broad, depending on the venue and the pitch. I
think we'll see James Anderson in the pink ball test. Yeah, that's guaranteed for me.
And I can see maybe a Craig Overton or an Ollie Robinson starting as well in the bowling department. I mean, Ollie Robinson's come off the back of a very good summer. I think he could be a bowler who could cause Australia some trouble.
I was actually going to just mention Ollie Robinson because he's untested outside of England because he's picked on county form.
Yeah.
So how honestly, how do you think he'll go, and how many games will he play?
I mean, he's not express pace.
No,
but he's faster than he was a couple of years ago. Yeah. But he knows what he's doing. He's a clever lad as well. I heard him interviewed ahead of the summer where he said, he spends a lot of time visualising how he's going to get batsmen out, how he's going to set them up, and he thinks it through his strategy, and then kind of delivers on that when he's actually out there in the middle. So he's going to be, I think he's going to be a real asset to Joe Root. Whether he'll be quite as successful as he was in the English conditions this summer is a completely different question. But I think he's a tall lad. If he gets bouncy tracks, that's going to be in his favour. I think he'd be all right.
Because we all know that the Kookaburra ball is completely different to the Duke ball.
Yeah.
And if you can't swing the Kookaburra ball in Australia, you need a really pacey guy to impact the pitch.
Yeah.
And obviously, Mark obviously loved Jofra Archer. I think he would have wreaked havoc if you had Jofra Archer there. But Mark Wood, he's much better outside of England, from what I've seen.
Yeah.
So he needs to be the leader we can take it, Mark Wood.
Yeah. They need to wrap Woody in cotton wool. Maybe if you're going to give him a test match off, it would be that pink test match where maybe the swing bowlers come into the fore and the likes of Wokes, Anderson and Broad and Robinson can take over. But Mark Wood's going to be pivotal. I mean, just go back 12 months. you had the potential for a bowling attack with Jofra Archer in there, Ollie Stone in there, Mark Wood in there. You had Ben Stokes as your all-rounder who could bowl pretty quick as well if he wants to.
Yeah.
And all of that's fallen apart. So England, this is very much not to say it's a second-rate or a B-list kind of bowling lineup would be unfair on a few of them there. But that's definitely not the squad that England would want to have picked if everybody was fit.
Yeah. I don't see it as a B squad because they've used that against India. So their bowling's what they've used to get minus Sam Curran. But they've used that exact bowling lineup for India. So I can't call that a B squad.
I'm glad you reminded me of India because the last time India came to Australia, they had a B team. And they fought back quite nicely and took it serious, didn't they?
Yeah, they didn't have a captain called Tim Payne, though, did they?
That was not the only reason, Lucas. Come on.
Very cheeky, James. Very cheeky. You got me there. You got me there. I'll admit you get me there.
That's about the last time Australia played Test cricket, isn't it? Because they've turned down tours left, right, and centre.
Yeah.
Okay. Final question, James.
You know I've got nothing for you when it comes to that. I've got nothing for you.
Yes.
I'll give you those.
James, final question on the. I want to ask about the Moeen Ali. Obviously, he has announced the retirement from the Test cricket, and he has made the statement. I think that he has been vested in a proper way. I think I was just discussing with the same thing with the Lucas once he announced the retirement. I think he considered himself as a batting all rounder, and the combination that England wanted, that he was a spinner who's a very handy batsman in the lower down middle order, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I've got a huge amount of time for Moeen Ali. You look at his records, you look at his performances down the years in Test cricket. He's made himself into a very, very fine Test cricketer. He came into county cricket as a number 3 batsman. I think he opened a little bit, but he was mainly a number 3 batsman who could bowl a little bit of spin. And he got into the England Test team, and they made him a spinner that batted a little bit.
Yes.
I don't think they ever really got a protracted run out of Moeen Ali in the Test side where he knew what he was turning up to do. A bit like Johnny Bairstow. I think if you turn up with your bags at a Test arena and you don't know what whether you're playing, and B, if you're playing, what your role's going to be in that side, you're on the back foot. And I think Moeen Ali played a lot of his Test cricket on the back foot. Having said that, I think there's been evidence that over the last sort of 2 or 3 years, his performances have gone down a little bit in the Test arena. And I think it's a good decision for Moeen Ali. I think if he, also last time he was in Australia, he got pummeled. So that he didn't have a very good series in Australia. So missing this series isn't, the fact that Moeen Ali is not in this squad isn't causing me sleepless nights. But I think for Moeen Ali, it's the right time for him to go away from the Test arena, get the applause and the thanks for what he's done in the Test arena, and play white ball cricket for England and shed loads of cash going around the world playing all the different T20 franchises. Fill your pockets, Mo. Good luck to you.
Yes.
I'm glad you mentioned Moeen Ali got pummeled, because I think that's what's going to happen to Bess and Leach. Then they're going to really, really struggle against Labu, probably Warner, Smith, and all that.
Big words, Lucas.
Yes.
That's great words, considering that David Warner hasn't made a run and Steve Smith hasn't made a run in all year. So
David Warner's been awful in the IPL as well. I mean, he's watching.
Yes, he has been sitting. Yes, probably Sunrisers Hyderabad management hasn't handled him well. But obviously, he wasn't contributing a lot with the bat, also, isn't it?
I hate T20.
I mean, I love the IPL. I love all formats.
No,
I'm not against any formats, but Test cricket is definitely the pinnacle. And
James Butler, final prediction. I think Lucas obviously will not like the conversation of the T20 cricket, but I think Chennai Super King is about to play with the Delhi Capitals today in the first qualifier. Who will win today?
I think Delhi Capitals have been the best side through the IPL. I'd like to see them win it. I think in the past they've just run out of steam coming into the playoffs, whereas this time it's been split into 2, so they've still got steam going into the playoffs. They've had all of that time off in the middle because of the pandemic to rest up. So I'd love to see Delhi Capitals book their place into the finals today. If they did that, that's 4 straight defeats for MSD and the CSK. and they will go into that eliminator basically with no form whatsoever.
him.
But Chennai Super King is my favorite team. Obviously, I've been following him from the 2008. But I hope they will win. I think we are done for today. Thank you, James Butler. It was a
Only
pleasure
60
talking to
days
you.
left. 60 days left to the Ashes.
Yes.
Yeah, I thought, Gaurav, you were going to ask me for a prediction for the Ashes, and that's why I'm more than happy to predict the IPL.
I have asked you many times. That's why I haven't asked you.
Well, we have to wait to what Australia send their squad. You know, we've players fighting for the 5th spot and then opening spot next to David Warner. So there is one guy that you should watch out for, folks. His name's Tim Ward. Plays for Tasmania. He could be a little smoky for the opening spot. Made 100 on debut for Tasmania, and then backed it up with another 85. So could be a little smoky because Joe Burns was awful. Made only 10. Karaja made only 20. Labuschagne made 30. But this Tim Ward, so just this name to watch out for.
Travis says getting a few runs, isn't he, for South Australia as well? I saw that last. So I saw Jason Gillespie. Yeah.
So, Travis Head made 100. Yeah. Well, Travis Head will play this week against Queensland, South Australian Queensland. But the Alex Carey struggled in his first match, and so did Josh Ingle. So they're going to take over Tim Payne. So a bit of mixed bag for spots.
Going to be interesting.
Okay. Very interesting. I really wish Alex Carey, because obviously South Australian. I'm South Australian. I just hope Travis Head can get this 100 against Queensland against Michael Nisa, who's a very good domestic bowler, and get that 5th spot for the Ashes. I really hope so, because Travis Head is a bit like Zach Calling away, all the talent in the world, but really struggles to focus. Gets out to the same shot. Can seem to do it very well for his state, but can't translate it into country. And I really hope he can get back into the Ashes team and make some runs. Travis?
Okay. I think we are done for today. Thank you, James Butler. It was a pleasure talking to you. Hope we will meet again once the Australian team will be announced. And you.
No, we will. Don't worry about that. We'll get you on.
Yes.
Don't worry about that. We'll get James on for sure.
Makes me laugh as well, Lucas, because Gaurav said, I think we've done for today about 5 times now, and we kept on talking. But we'll finally stop, Gaurav.
Go to watch IPL also.
That's why it's called the Ashes. It's called the Ashes. It's only for Australia and England. You know, it's not India, it's not Sri Lanka. It's just Australia and England. The pinnacle of Test cricket is the Ashes. No one can convince me otherwise.
I have been enjoying this Ashes for the 2005 Ashes series. Come on, mate. Till then, guys, thank you. Do like the video, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon. Till then, we will meet after the IPL. After once the CSK and Delhi Capitals match finish. Thank you, James.